yes, you are going to be misunderstood. You come to a point where you just stop talking about it. You have to make a choice. It's either to become a part of the pollution again or to remain free. And there is no choice. There is no choice. Even when it comes down to life and death, there is no choice. There was a man before the invention of the telescope who said there were other planets, there were other stars, and there were planets revolving around those stars. And he said that, well, that discovery would enhance the idea of God, and that it spoke to the glory of God. And you know what the God-fearing people did? They burned him at the stake. And he was asked at the time when they lit the fire, recant. No. So, coming to a point of truth, and I don't know how to say it any other way, it's just true. And when you see it, you begin to lose things. You begin to lose people, all manner of people. That's why it said, doesn't matter, mother, father, sister, brother, doesn't matter. Because they are cutting you loose, you are not cutting them loose because of their lack of understanding and wanting to reduce where you come back to that which is familiar to them and the insanity that makes them comfortable. Because you begin to see your own insanity where you were, and you see where they are, and you see what they do, and you say, no. So you begin to lose a lot of things, and you begin to try to figure out other ways in which to live amongst them. To live amongst them and not be forever at odds with them, or them at odds with you, because you won't be at odds with them. They will be at odds with you because you threaten their idea of reality, and of course you're going to be accused and accused and accused. But the ignorant or the ignorant always do that to those things that take the next step. That always is true. It is always true. Because they want it to be like they want it to be. And they are miserable and unhappy, but they don't see that they are the source of their misery and their unhappiness. But they want you back in their world. So, if you don't go, and I can't figure any reason why one would want to go back into that. That's why you've had people who have made major contributions to things in that sense often die in poverty and often die death at the hands of these kinds of individuals because they are so threatened by the truth. They don't know how to deal with it any other way. So I don't know what you do. You make your choices along the way. How you deal with different things. The sense of the desire for reunification is the purest sense from the perfect law. And that translates itself into helping others when you see them disassociated from the perfection or understanding what that law is. It is a distortion of that law that drives you to do these things. I'm not saying whether it is right or wrong, because we derive our power from the tasks that we undertake, and we make marks upon humanity by the tasks that we undertake. But I will say that at another time, as the purity of the law becomes more obvious to you, that too will pass. That it'll pass, and because there's certain things you will understand about it. You'll understand that there are certain limitations. Out of all the powerful things that you will be able to do, you will also see that you're like dust in the wind, that there is something that makes a greater statement that comes from the absolute source of things. It's a dynamic of change within that which you really are. That is where it all comes from. So it gives you another task that is even more complex within yourself. And that is always the nature of it, because that is the dynamic of the universe. That is the dynamic of being. Go back to something I've said about perfection and the idea of perfection that we have. We have the idea that perfection is without flaw. No, perfection is with flaw. Perfection means to contain everything. Everything within the nature of that thing. To contain the flaw is what provides a doorway for new things to be uncovered. That is a friction, and it causes the dynamic of the universe. It causes the dynamic in that which we call God to move forward to create other things. And the further you get into that, the further you will find that you come away from humankind. I had a discussion with a person in New York who was very interested in science, physics, the stars, For many of us, that was our first introduction to the wonder of the universe. Wow, man. Physics, wow. Stars, wow. How does this whole thing work? Well, we're looking at the physical of it. We discussed and discussed and discussed, and finally one day I said, you're asking me questions that I'm no longer interested in. I gave up interest in that a long time ago. Well, why? Isn't it related? Well, when you find out that in the physics you keep discovering more and more things, one day you find out you're discovering them because you're creating them. Okay. And all of a sudden, that isn't the answer anymore. So you have to take that step beyond physics. Some call it metaphysics, I don't know. I stopped paying attention somewhere around quarks. Somewhere around there I stopped paying attention because it made no sense to me anymore to continue in that line. So in that same way, when you are involved with your fellow human beings who insist upon staying at the same place in their lives, still controlled by their habitual behaviors, still controlled by all those things, you come to a point where there's nothing to say. And that is not out of giving up on them. It's just that you see very clearly that they're not gonna. You see what the issue is, and you see why they're not gonna do it, so you just leave them alone. Until one day you can look at them and see they're now willing to hear something more of what you have to say. I want you to understand, I want you to listen to and look at something. You're talking about that which knows everything versus that which knows only the lie of their own mind. That is like, if you look at the numbers of stars in the sky, and you look at all the beaches in the world, and the earth is equivalent to one grain of sand in one beach, and all the grains of sand on every beach in the world does not number the number of stars in the sky. And then you consider that which contains all the stars in the sky. And consider that which contains all the stars in the sky. So when you're talking about great knowledge and coming past some things, look at the difference. Now how, when you can talk about that which contains all the stars in the sky, which is greater than the number of grains of sand on all the beaches and deserts of all the world, to someone whose view of things is that of one grain of sand. What can you say? You just go, and they think you're stupid. So you see the point? You must become comfortable with that if you are truly to be that which you are. And it doesn't mean that you can operate on a human-to-human basis, because the very simple things of love, compassion, the beautiful, simplistic things that are there, you want to express. But it's like you're trying to express it in a madhouse. There's this insanity. It's just rolling. This tremendous energy of insanity, like a giant exploding star, or a giant fireball, just red hot and just rolling. And all you want to do is say, I love you. And all you want to do is reach out your hand and help. That's all you want to do. But there's this fireball with all this stuff in it that confuses the issue. So yes, you have to become comfortable with, this is the way it is, man. Without the judgment of it. See, that's why when coming to the point of understanding, you have to give up everything. Even your judgment of that one grain of sand. You don't judge it, you see it for what it is. The other thing you have to understand about it, in general, you will be the catalyst for their pain. And therefore they're going to strike out at you. They're going to strike out at you. Because when you come to, there's one thing about idiocy.
Is that a natural process, or is that
idiocy?
No.
Yeah.
Is that because why is that?
It's because they equate what you say to what they think, and they think they are equal, and they're not. And because of the insecurity with them, they will blame you because they don't want to see themselves.
Does that give them a greater possibility of understanding their own confusion by depending on, I guess it's just different?
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
No, it just, it in a way, yes, because it will hurt so bad one day, they'll either give it up or die. So the possibility, yes, it adds to the possibility that they're going to go pow, because see, that hurt brings you to the point. Now what do you do when you get there? That hurt is the doorway and you're standing in the doorway. What do you do?
Well, when you don't respond in a way that would be what they would expect or typical or with malice or whatever, it seems like it gives, that can, depending on the person and how they deal with whatever it is they're dealing with, can create an opportunity for them to disentangle it because there's no other confusion.
Yes, that is what I've done for years. Presented that opportunity and continue to in some way present that opportunity.
So if you engage people, you kind of have to be prepared for that.
You have to be prepared for that. Now, there's no kinder to it. You better be ready. You better get in your stance and get your feet set, because the insanity is coming. It's coming. It is coming. And you have to be prepared to, you see, when you come to a certain point that is true, and you know if it's true, you know, you can't be moved from that point. It's not like, see, they think that it's like them. They can change their mind every 2 seconds. Well, you can't do that, because it's not a mind thing. It's like trying to change from gold to lead. It won't happen, because that's what you are, and where they are is in their minds. So they can switch back and forth with ideas. You see, the understanding, the thing that is different is that this is not an idea. This is a reality. This is a truth. It doesn't change, and it is not going to change because someone stomps their feet and cries, jumps up and down, goes get a shotgun, burn you at the stake, hang you from a cross, tie you to wild horses and rip you asunder. It's still the truth, and it won't change, you see, because it's the difference between this and being. So, if you have people who will trust you enough to present them with that and understand that, it's a wonderful thing. But if you don't, if they don't understand that when they come to that door, when you put pressure on, it is up to them. They don't open their mouth and say shit in response to what you said. They do their work. But the moment they open their mouth and start to, but now they know more than you do, so ultimately you shut up and let them do whatever it is they're going to do. There's a woman talked about her grandson in the group in New York, said, I don't know what to do about that boy. You can sit him down and tell him, look, you're not going wherever it is you want to go. You're going to your room and you're going to study. And he will say, yes, Grandma. Half an hour later, you go to his room, the window's open, and he's gone. It's just what it is. So it depends, if you can do that, yes. But you need true students of faith, a person who is a student of life and who will trust you to do that, and who will do what they are supposed to do at the moment that is presented to them.
Because it seems like it's part of your process, but it's also that whole dynamic. In a way, sometimes you're facilitating it, but in another way, it's them.
Yes, it is them.
And you're kind of just being what you are.
That's right. It's also why what is done is hard to understand, because it is a happening rather than a doing. What happens in me toward you and what happens in me to cause certain things to happen on many, many levels of being is a happening. It's not that I sit and say, well, now let's see, now they did this, so I'm going to do this. That's ridiculous. That's a bunch of mind crap. It is the dynamic. It is the thing that comes together. It just does what it does. Because you do X, Y happens in response to me. or it, or whatever all that is, the whole thing. So that is the dynamic that creates the heat, that creates the possibility for the change, you know. That's how that works. That's how you can do wonders. But you need the other part of the equation to create the wonder. You see, how wonders are, no, not you can create wonders, how wonders are created. Do what you do. How anyone perceives it, that's on them. The thing is, and you will learn as I learned, the expectation of what they should do. I think I told you about a paper I did once, an explanation of this in terms of mathematics and that kind of thing, and thought all these great mathematical minds would go, yeah. And they went, huh? I said, but this is your language. You should understand this. Well, it's certainly very interesting, but you see, you can take the time to do it flawlessly. That enhances your spirit. See, the thing that happens here, that attempts to happen here, is to answer every question. And the way you answer every question at the same time, no matter what the question is you present the way of learning that answers the question. So each person from the same point answers a different question.
At what point
That's,
do you do the same thing?
you don't.
Ever?
You're not until you ask the same question. See, the point is to teach people how to learn, as opposed to teaching them what to learn. Because the question is different depending upon the insanity of the person. See, there's only one answer. There's only one answer to the whole thing. But depending on the insanity, the way in which they have twisted their view, they'll get a different answer because they have a different question. But again, the only answer you can give is not the answer to their question, but how to learn from where you are. That's the only answer that can be given. I have been left no alternative except to say what I say, and when someone contradicts me, I look at them and very lovingly and very godly say, fuck you. And why do I say fuck you? Because at that point, at least for a moment, they go, and there's a possibility to learn something about what just happened, you see. So it is about learning the idea, and I've said this for years about concept. And people keep going, what is a concept? Concept is not the specific, but it's the generality into which all those things or similar things fit. There are those words again, you see. So I have learned to just describe it. There it is. Are you listening? Because I will describe it not only for you word-wise, gesture-wise, expression-wise, emotion-wise, non-emotion-wise. I'll do all those things. The point is, are you listening? I will give you 100% toward what the answer is. Now, whether you give 100% toward receiving that answer, don't know. Don't know. All I can tell you is that in the end, the wheat will be separated from the chaff. That means that which is useless will fall away. That means that which is the essence. I learn now what it means to be what I am in the society. I can't tell you the pain when you know the answer. but you're the only one that knows the answer. Ooh. And you're looking right at it. You're looking right at what the problem is. And you're saying, it ain't hard. I learned that one of the things I have tried to do, is to utilize what I know to help in many ways, to help at levels of work, levels of just how you do things. That's not what I do. What I do is help in matters of, shall we say, the spirit. That's what I do. That's all that I do. You can't. Much of this would be like taking what's that $400,000 car?
Aston Martin.
Yeah, it's another really fast thing. Lamborghini, yeah. It'd be like taking that down to a tribe in South America who's never seen a car, never seen a road. Say, here. If you turn on this key, and you put your foot on this, and you take your foot off that, you can go. Zoom, zoom, zoom. Think about that. So, you learn, don't do that. Here's what I do. And I say this is said to all of you. It may seem as though today is about something different, but it's not. Every message, everything that has been said here is being said clearly to each and every person here. You ask for something, but in your asking for it, there's a selfishness in it. You want it to fit like you want it to fit. Ultimately, you learn that there must be selflessness in it. And in that selflessness, you gain. In that selflessness, you also lose. You lose, as we've talked about, people and things. You say over and over and over and over again, no, no, this. One day you cease to say that. And you look at them as if they, with all the meaning in your heart. And I'm talking personal relationships, whether that be mother, father, child, lover, wife, husband, whatever. And you smile and you go, because there's nothing left to do. But you find yourself in this place of aloneness. And that has to be okay. You find yourself at this place of this ache in your being. And that has to be okay. Because that ache is only filled by understanding. And by those around you understanding, so that you can live on this earth in the way that it is meant to live on the earth, in what the book calls the Garden of Eden. Just a little joy in your life, the ability to really exercise your power of creativity within the law. That ache is there because it ain't happening, but you also must accept that ache. You must accept the ache that you're alone and not let it separate you. But you are separated by the idea structures where others are not unified. That's okay. It's all right, but it's not all right. The purity of that goes right back to the moment of falling from grace, the moment of separation from the homogeneousness you call godliness or God, or is called God, or whatever all those words are. That is what the purity of that feeling is. And you understand that because you've accepted that. How will you get along with people who are still selfish and think that the relationship to another human being is going to provide that answer? You're not. You're not. It is not going to happen. You also find another thing out of all the power that you have. There comes a time when the lesson to those around you is greater than all the power you have.